Tonight on Trading Shots, we look ahead to the last chance qualifier, dig into the upcoming playoff matches, and predict who's winning Stage 2. I'm Merk, in case you forgot, Maven. I'm joined by Clint, and Benson is back from the Big Easy. Thanks for joining us. It's time for First Blood. Division B is finished, and playoff matches are locked in, but starting Tuesday, more teams will battle it out for one last chance at champs. 32 teams will face off, but only 16 will make it to Columbus. So, fellas, what are your teams to watch that can make a run at champs? Ben, welcome back. Let's hear what you got.
Thanks, Joe. First of all, so excited for the LCQ. Like you said, we're going to have the best of the rest, essentially, securing their final spot.
I like that, Ben. I like that.
Call of Duty World Championship. Thanks, Joe.
You can already be giving out points. He said line, Joe.
Hey, just so you know, Clint, this is Joe, not Jack. I know they both start with a J, and it can be confusing, but try and remember our host's name.
It's weird, because he looks more like Mr. X.
That's not true at all.
You're going to have negative points very soon. There you go, just like that. For me, though, in reality, I look for one team and one team only, and it's going to be Ghost Gaming. This is a team that, throughout the year, have actually put up some fantastic results against some of the top teams, and as well as that, maybe some of the other contenders. And I think it would be a very big shock if they weren't actually able to get to the Call of Duty World Championship. And I think you look at the qualification process, it's simple, right? You just need to win 2 matches and you're in. Something Ghost Gaming should definitely be able to do.
Yeah, I think so. Ghost Gaming is a team we've seen time and time again. They perform very well at Seattle. Always a team that makes it to pool play, and if they don't, they make you run in the losers bracket. I know there's some other teams, though. Clint, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of teams that you feel like are kind of locks to get in with those 16 teams. You mentioned Ghost. You have your Lightning Pandas. Enigma 6 is a roster. These teams are, you always see them making deep runs in the Pro League Challenge. When you think about teams that have actually gotten to the top 8, Lightning Pandas did all the way back at Birmingham. Ghost, I believe, did it at Seattle. Maybe roster's a little bit different at some of these stages, but there are teams that have done it. I guess my biggest issue here, Ben, I'm excited to see what 16 teams come out, but if you look historically at champs, typically there aren't really teams that make a deep run when you talk about the amateur teams coming in, especially now. Think about it. Our Pro League is more competitive than ever. It's longer than ever. There's more matches than ever. These teams are playing each other so much at a high level. It's hard to fathom that an amateur team is going to come in and make a deep run at champs. I'd love to see it, but it is hard to envision.
I think that's the key, right? These professional teams, they're just getting more repetitions. They're in the league. They're playing more and more games. So for some of the teams that aren't in the league, it's very, very tough to make sure you're getting the best practice and, putting yourself in a good position to go on a big run. I think the only time I can think of a team really going on a big run, which maybe shouldn't have done, was probably back in, 2013, the Inferno, the Italians, Black Ops 2 champs, but that's completely different than what we have right now, so it's very hard to actually compare.
Yeah, I think there's some others. They were in the league, I think Fab and Black Ops 3, they get top 4. That was a great run by them. Yeah. They turned into Epsilon, but yes, they were in the league. Again, it's so tough for these teams outside of the league, and it's also important. How does the LCQ work? It's a double element bracket. If you win twice, you have a bit of a better seed at champs. Maybe you have a bit of an easier pool. It's still going to be tough, though. We have 16 of the best teams in the world, even teams like Tainted Minds, even teams like Epsilon. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait for Tuesday for that LCQ. I'm going to give you both 1 point, even though I really wanted to deduct one from you, Clinton, but that's okay. I want this one to be a good show.
Thank you, Joe.
Now let's move on to Quickscope. Playoffs are just around the corner, and the best teams from both divisions will battle it out on the road to champs. Some of the CBL's top talent will be put to the test, and I want to know who's coming out on top. The first matchup is crazy one. It's a rematch of the grand final from Anaheim. Red Reserve takes on Rise Nation. Clint, what do you think? Who's winning this first round?
It's wild that we have this as the first match.
Unreal.
Well, not necessarily the first match, but like the first round for these two teams, considering the marathon we had at Anaheim between these two squads. They're very familiar with each other. They played each other a lot. I'm going to go with Rise Nation. Now, I know Rise have been horrendous these last 2 weeks, but for me, losing is learning. I think they've learned a lot these last couple weeks, and I don't think this is a team that necessarily plays to their performance when they're playing without a crowd, when they're playing in a scenario like they are here in Columbus, like for the Pro League. They know how much is at stake with the $500,000. They know how good Red is. You think about how many maps they actually played each other. It was like 14 on Sunday. When we went through the winners bracket final, they tied in a hard point. They had the 2 best-of-5s in the grand final. These teams are very familiar with each other. And the other thing that I think kind of gives me a little bit of an edge for Rise Nation, they played the last 2 weeks, right? They were in Division B. They were in the second half of that stage. So they're a little bit more warmed up going into this actual playoff. You look at Red, I've seen Rated and Scraps and the team. They're playing a ton of ranked play. Is rank play quite the same as what you're getting here in the Pro League? It's not. And I think that's kind of big, man. They're going to be coming in a little bit more hot, despite the fact that obviously they've been playing so poorly these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, now before you give your argument, there was something you brought up, Clint. You said, Rise Nation, I just don't think they really bring it here at Columbus. Hey, Clint, can you tell me their records the first couple of weeks?
Well, this actually really stood out. They had, so I believe it was... I don't know how the overall record in my head, but they had 1 S&D loss and 1 hardpoint loss in the first 2 weeks. They ended up with 9 hardpoint losses and 6 search losses. So they really, really struggled these last 2 weeks. Like, Red came back and really only struggled in CTF. Rise struggled in just about everything. So don't get me wrong. I'm not going to play off the fact that, Rise have been horrendous these last 2 weeks, but they've been playing top competition in the last 2 weeks. Red have not.
I just wanted to see you make some excuses for the guys. Now, Ben, what do you think?
Joe, I actually have a question for you. Where actually is playoffs?
I mean, it's here.
Oh.
Hey, there'll be a crowd here, Ben.
That's weird, right? It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. For me, you bring up an interesting point. Obviously, the decline of Rise Nation, decline, right? Let's use quotations for that. They've definitely played worse in their last couple of weeks. Why is that? Maybe because they're comfortable, they kind of assumed they were going to go through. But it's worth mentioning, the same was true with Red Reserve, let's not forget. They were almost comfortable, then they started dropping a couple of series. Their Flag Tower CTF was a game type, which, let's not forget, was pretty poor. But for me, you say losing is learning. Red Reserve, they've lost a fair amount of times now to Rise Nation. Admittedly, some unbelievable close games. For me, I think this is going to be their time. They're ready. They've been so hungry to play against Rise Nation. I know they've done a ton of prep work for that series. The fact that we see it round 1 is absolutely insane, first and foremost. But for me, I really think the Europeans may actually come out and do it. And I think that's partly due to the fact that because their Rise Nations games have been so close, they're going to be a week, maybe 2 weeks max from when they actually played in the league. I don't think Rise Nation truly know what the issue actually is. I know Slasher was tweeting, oh, we know what the issue is. We're going to be A-OK. Well, do you believe that? Because the number one problem, the number one thing we all said when that Rise Nation squad was made is when they explode, when they collapse, it's not going to be
a lot of personality.
It's a ticking time bomb. We just don't know when it's going to go off. Do I think it's going to go off before champs? Probably not. But the fact that they are having these issues, the cracks are starting to form.
Yeah, I mean, the cracks are there, but I just don't think, like, it's been broken, right? Like, there's still, you won the last 2 major tournaments.
I 100% agree with you.
But for me, this mostly just comes down to who improved in what game mode. Because if you look back at the, winners bracket final and grand final from Anaheim, Rise Nation, basically, they control the CTF, they control the search and destroy. The edge to the hard point went to Red. So who's going to get a little bit of bump in some of those game modes? Like, is Red going to improve in search and do more of a battle there with Rise Nation? Or Rise Nation going to play better in hard point and take some off of Red? Really, who improves? Because you have so many maps to go back and watch between these two teams. Who does their homework? Who does their research? Who comes to play? What TJ Haley do we get? I'm going Rise Nation, despite the fact that, I mean, I'll admit, they have not looked good at all. They have not looked like the best team in the world, but they've done too much for me to count them out yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. I mean, you have potentially the 2 best teams in the world matching up in winners round 1. But you bring up an interesting point, Clint, around TJ. I don't think it's just TJ as well. You had poor performances from Gunless. Slasher wasn't always there. The most consistent player, I think, the past couple of weeks was probably Looney. I don't think Looney even wants to say that. So for Red Reserve, if you look at Call of Duty history, I bring up Denial and OpTic Gaming, Team Envious and OpTic Gaming. Those teams, they got beat by OpTic a couple of times, and at the big one, they were finally able to overcome that edge. That's why I'm going to give a point to Ben. I think it's time for Red Reserve. They've gotten beat by a couple series in a row. It's their time to learn from those mistakes. They want it. As soon as they saw the playoff bracket, you saw them on Twitter. Get me to playoffs right now. I am so excited for this matchup. I think it's going Red's way. Next up in our matchups, it's Echo Fox versus eUnited. Another great one. Ben, who are you picking?
Joe, for me, this one is simple. I think it's eUnited. We said it throughout the last couple of weeks
it's
here
simple.
in Columbus, Ohio. Very simple. This is the easiest game, I think, in the entire bracket. eUnited have found their form. And it's something Clay gets very, very good timing, it seems. Maybe it's good timing. Maybe it is just pure skill from him. But every time the World Championship approaches, you get a little bit more out of him. It's almost as if he kind of wakes up a little more and says, all right, this is the big one. Time to try and get myself another ring. He is phenomenal around this time of year. And for me, the eUnited squad as a whole, they're playing some great Call of Duty. The way that they're playing seems confident. They're playing with a smile on their face, which I've always said is the key for that team. And now all of a sudden the pieces are coming together. You want to talk about stats as well. The worrying thing for me is hardpoint for Echo Fox. Statistically speaking, throughout Stage 2, they've been abysmal. For eUnited, they've been so good. Like I said, I think this is honestly going to be a very easy series. 3-0 maybe for eUnited.
Wow, strong words out of Ben right there. Clint, what do you think?
I don't usually like to agree on these type of topics. We try to go out of our way sometimes to argue about stuff, but I'm with you with this United thing. And you know, I've been all over the place with the United. You know, 2 weeks back on trading shots, I had them in the top 4. Then once the tiebreaker for UNILAD over LG, and I still wanted to go with LG, I had to say eUnited were going out. I've been all over the place with them, but I also said, like, when are they going to string together 2 consistent weeks, 2 consecutive weeks where they look great? And they finally did it. Think about what they did in these last 2 weeks. They go 6-1 overall. The only loss they have is to OpTic Gaming in a reverse sweep. They go 16-4 in Respawn. They have found their dominant form, and the nice thing is they found it at the right time. This is the perfect time to be playing like that. They've been okay in Search, but they've been so good in Respawn, it hasn't really mattered. And honestly, I think, Joe, Ben, if we were to poll all of the pro players and say maybe what is the most favorable matchup, like the team that you would want to play most in the first round, I think the answer is Echo Fox. And now, that is not to knock Echo Fox, because they were hot their final 2 weeks.
I'll say, what was their record there, final 2 weeks?
But like, I feel like if you had one of the most favorable matchups, like that's who I would want to play. I'd want to play Echo Fox.
You guys got the paper. What was Echo Fox's record the last?
I believe didn't they go 6-1, 6-1 or 5-2? Because they went on that 5. Remember, they came back and went on a 5-0 win streak.
You have 2 teams that had very hot streaks to put there.
Absolutely, but eUnited's hot streak is right this second.
Yeah.
Well, but here's
2 weeks ago.
Here's the difference maker, though. Here's the difference maker. eUnited didn't play a single series where they didn't win at least 2 maps. Yeah. Everything went to Game 5. And bear in mind, the first couple of weeks, they were throwing away series just left, right, and center because they were just choking in Game 5.
Well, Ben, we don't trust them in Game 5.
There's no better way of saying
they'll kill each other.
Exactly. they were literally choking. I feel like that isn't going to happen come playoffs. I think this is going to be a very experienced, well-oiled machine. And for me, like I said, Echo Fox don't stand a chance.
I just feel like United finally, like, everyone's playing consistently. Like Pristini, I know he's been all over the place with confidence, which you hate to see, but he seems to be playing very confident right now. RC's been one of the more consistent players of the year. Clayster's hype and feels good about the team. Fellows seems to be feeling kind of more naturally into this role with the squad, and their pacing seems to be on. You know, I heard one of the things that's really worked out for them when you talk about hardpoint, Pristini was running airborne, and he was just too fast. Like, he was too fast around the map. He switches to armored, the pacing lines up more with Fellow, and it's really worked out for them. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the first times all year where I feel good about eUnited making a deep run. Did we know they could upset people? Did we know they had the potential all year to win a series off of anyone? Yes. But to consistently take series and make a run to maybe a grand final, this is one of the first times all year that I feel good about that.
All right. I don't like it when you both agree, but I agree with you with eUnited. So I'm going to give you both a point. But here's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-0. I think this is going to be a much closer series. It's eUnited in Echo Fox.
I don't know if we've any 3-0s in
I think it's going to go Game 4 or Game 5 at the minimum. It's going to be a crazy one. Here's the thing. As I said, Echo Fox, they had a very hot second 2 weeks, as did eUnited. But the thing I'll give eUnited, they had a tougher division. A lot more Titans in there. You know, you have your Rises. The only loss you have is to OpTic Gaming, and it was in a reverse sweep. So I do give the edge to eUnited, but it's a small one. All right, next up, we've also got Team Kaliber facing off against UNILAD. Clint, what do you got for me?
I am going Team Kaliber. Now, I know that I cursed this team at the beginning of the year, but on Hot Mic with Kenny, I took it all back. I took back the juju.
That's not how it works.
Since then, they've been lights out. Since that Hot Mic episode, they have been incredible. Now, is it all on me? No, more than likely not. But they've been playing great since then. But this is what it boils down to for me. Team Kaliber is a better hardpoint team than UNILAD. Where this is going to be a struggle is a search and destroy. Now, what's been tough for teams when we take a look at their matchups against UNILAD throughout this division, we know one thing about UNILAD. They're incredibly good at St. Marie, incredibly good at Texas. You can take one of those maps out. Now, the big thing, the recipe for success here for Team Kaliber is going to be the hard points and then making sure the Game 2 is the off map for UNILAD. Make sure you get Texas or St. Marie to map 5. It has got to be the map 5. If they take you to the Game 5 and beat you, fine. Don't let them get the edge early in a series with that Game 2. That's absolutely what has to happen for TK. They have to win it in the vetoes. They're the superior hardpoint team. They can get it done. And I've been watching Accuracy and Kenny stream a lot lately. They're in form, man. They are absolutely frying. And I know 8's rank play isn't everything, but I'm telling you right now, they are the 2 of the best players in the game, and they're going to bring it to playoffs.
Sounds like something I said to you earlier this week.
Joe, I don't listen to anything you say.
Okay. All right, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I think the one thing is, though, and I can probably guarantee it right now, you will see a London Dosh hardpoint in this series. Now, UNILAD, they play it very often. They don't have the best record on it. TK, I feel like that's one where they're definitely going to want to play, and maybe that is the game one going into that game two. But I'm just not quite sure if I'm sold on TK just yet.
Just to sell you on the hard point side of it.
Yep.
So basically, if you look over the course of stage two, TK's 16-7. So they are very good in hard point. UNILAD 13-11.
Hold on.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. I'm just telling you. It's 16-7 for TK, 13-11 for UNILAD.
In terms of hard point, statistically speaking, through stage two, TK has been so much better. But which division would you say has the better hard point teams? I would personally say the more dominant teams are in Division B, and that's why UNILAD's stats are kind of affected in that way.
I like that.
Their stats, honestly, aren't that good in terms of hardpoint. But when it comes to search and destroy, they blow TK out the water. Where it gets interesting is to capture the flag, both at 50% through their respective division statistics.
Yeah, that's a wash.
That game three is a swing, and I honestly think whoever wins that game three is basically taking this series. I just have a little more faith in UNILAD right now. I think their form is great. I think the players look fantastic. Again, it's very similar to eUnited. They've just found that stride at the right time. And they're proving that there isn't just one good European team. There isn't just two. You could arguably say there's three. Yes, okay, Splice underperformed a little bit, but still, UNILAD, they had the potential to be the #1 seed from this division. Let's not forget, there was a very real possibility where we said, all right, both the top seeds could actually be from Europe. And I think, you look at the brothers, I know they want to play each other desperately at LAN, and this is one of those series where I think UNILAD come out on top.
Well, I think what's interesting, too, that we haven't really mentioned is that these teams have not played each other. They have not played each other once with these actual
With these squads, yeah.
So, it's hard to predict, obviously. They have not played each other. And actually, I do like your point about maybe where the better hardpoints team are, but I think Red's one of the best hardpoint teams in the game, which TK had to match up against.
I do agree with you.
FaZe obviously can be very, very good when they're in form. We saw them get into that mode. Echo Fox obviously struggles. So, yeah, there's different strengths and weaknesses between divisions, but I really do think TK have the edge there, and it really comes down to what I said with the vetoes. I'm telling you right now, if St. Marie or Texas are game two, TK is losing that series. If they can push into a game 5, I think TK can take it 3-1. It's just, do they handle the vetoes? Have they been watching? Have they been doing their homework or watching Division B to see how good they are at those two maps?
I agree with your point about the vetoes. I think it is very important. But teams still, in my opinion, aren't going through the veto process properly. You should be banning out what the other team is extremely good at. If you're good at Texas, but you know the other team is amazing at Texas, you probably shouldn't play Texas. Chances are you're going to lose.
Yes, but again, it's still St. Marie. They're just as good as St. Marie. So it's like you pick your poison.
I get that. You have to pick your poison. And that's the kind of the level we're at this point, right? We're almost at the end of the year. Every team is pretty good at pretty much all the maps, some exceptions, of course. But again, to me, it's the CTF, and it's which team is going to be in current form. And you have to say, UNILAD right now is in better form than TK. Yes, they've been practicing at home. Yes, they've been streaming a ton.
Well, right this second, but if you're talking about how the teams looked in their final couple of weeks, TK looked nasty their final 2 weeks, too. So.
I mean, TK looked championship-winning form on Friday at Anaheim, and then what happened?
Yeah,
top 12.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, what does that mean? It means diddly squat, in my opinion, how you look currently.
Well, I do put more stock. I mean, I know we've said this a couple times over the show, but I do put more stock in the teams coming out of Division B because they're hot right now. Like, I absolutely think that's a thing. You know, you're basically taking a tiny little break, and then playoffs are right around the corner. That accounts for something, but how much scrim practice is going to get? I don't know when the Division A teams are getting here, how much they're going to get to match up. Is this going to be like Anaheim again, where all the top teams come from Division B? I don't know. I mean, it could be.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup. These teams have never played before. There's no history. I think this could potentially be the best series that we see on Friday. Yeah, maybe a little crazy because you have Rise in Red Reserve, OpTic and FaZe, which we're going to get to here pretty soon. But this one, it's just interesting to me because you have two very hot teams. Accuracy and Kenny, they've been going after it. I know they're going to be in form. But UNILAD, to me, have just been too good, and I love what they bring to the stage. They have been the most fun team for me to watch throughout all of Stage 2 and at Anaheim, so I'm going to give this point to Ben. The last match of Round 1, a rematch of our Stage 1 final when FaZe Clan takes on OpTic Gaming. It's going to be a crazy one. Ben, who's coming out on top?
You know what, Joe?
Uh-oh, he's going for it, aren't you?
FaZe Clan. Reigning champs, baby. When it comes to playoffs, they performed so well at Stage 1. Unbelievably well. They came and did the impossible in the grand final. No one had them winning. Since then, OpTic Gaming, to their credit, have looked fantastic. And I think that's a very easy, quote, easy prediction to go with. But there's something about FaZe, man. When they play OpTic Gaming, they seem to match up extremely well. As well as that, it's worth mentioning the search and destroy. Statistically, I think FaZe is 4-1 versus OpTic Gaming throughout the entire year in that game mode. So for me, you look at that and you think, all right, that's definitely favorable. You look at their Stage 2 playoff stats as well. Search and destroy, definitely favorable for FaZe. Can they take it to that Game 5? Yes, of course, when it comes to Hardpoint, you're going to worry about the slaying potential from OpTic Gaming. They found final form, it seems, in that game mode. But can Replays do his magic, man? Against OpTic Gaming, that FaZe squad just seemed to play so well. The subs match up beautifully. Even the AR presence is a different kind of mindset from the ARs, I feel. But Replays kind of with the old school play style of just playing it slow, playing for spawns, really focusing in that. I think cause OpTic Gaming a ton of problems.
Yeah, I think CTS is going to be one of the more interesting game modes to watch in this series because it is one that FaZe has been very good at. So is OpTic, though. Even though recently they've struggled, but it seemed in the last week that they fixed it. Clint, what do you think?
I picked FaZe to make the run to take the spot from EG, and FaZe was able to do it. They hit a form we haven't seen in a while, but I'm still going with OpTic Gaming here in this particular matchup.
Fair.
OpTic have been too good. I think it might be fair to say this is the best OpTic have looked this entire year. With this new roster, even compared to the old one, even the run they had at Stage 1 playoffs. I think
Stage 1 is probably the only argument you can
I think they're hitting a form now.
Stage 1, Clint, they get to the grand final.
I know,
with two
but
best of 5 cushions
hey,
blow it.
OpTic might be my favorite to take this whole thing. So I think OpTic have been getting to a form. They're 19-5 in Hardpoint. They've looked like the best team in that particular mode. Yes, the Search and Destroy is scary because OpTic have not been great in Search and Destroy. And FaZe were. I think FaZe were something like 12-5 in Search over their Stage 2 run. But OpTic are hitting that form. They're having fun. I think they showed a lot of grit with their reverse sweep. They pulled over eUnited. And I just like to kind of hear the comms of the guys, hear the guys talking about it. They know how good they are, and the confidence is finally there. FaZe has not won a winner's round 1 match all year.
Which is scary.
Not happening here, Ben.
But they haven't played OpTic Gaming winners round 1 all year. To me,
well,
there's something.
What is that stat?
Even historically, Clint. No. Listen, even historically, you can go back and look. Game prior, it doesn't matter. OpTic versus FaZe has always been a rivalry, which
100%.
For a certain part of the year has been heavily favored by one, and then it kind of switches back and forth. The games are always unbelievably close. But I just have this feeling, this inkling.
Hey, I'm not saying
going to come out on top. I don't know why.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
I agree with you. Logically, I think the higher percentage team here to win this is OpTic Gaming.
They could win both searches, win the CTF.
That's what I can see happening. I really can. I will say, if FaZe do win a Hardpoint, that series is done.
You cannot count out FaZe out.
That's what's interesting. Like they can absolutely take a Hardpoint. These teams do match up pretty well in the sense that we know how slay heavy they are. They rely on talent. Like I get that. They're very similar teams in the sense of what they can do. Like they can come out and outslay you by 40 and win a Hardpoint map. Absolutely, but the form we've seen OpTic in recently, they've looked almost untouchable in Hardpoint. I don't see FaZe taking that particular mode.
If you're OpTic Gaming, I feel like FaZe is probably one of the teams you just didn't want to play.
I think it's the worst matchup.
I feel like it really is.
I wouldn't want to be playing FaZe.
Obviously, you know the players are kind of bantering back and forth, like Krim and Zuma DMing, like, oh, Zuma says to Krim, make sure you get first. Like, make sure you get first. I'll meet you mid-map. Like, this is a game which I feel like FaZe are actually excited to play. Whereas on the other side, if you're OpTic Gaming, you're kind of like, crap.
I think OpTic, honestly, I think OpTic think they can hammer anybody right now, and I'm not kidding. No,
they do.
I think they can beat.
Of course they're gonna have that confidence, but hey, man, history talks for itself.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great match. That'll be our last match on Friday. It's gonna be a spectacle. It definitely is because you have two such talented teams. But right now, I just have to give the edge to OpTic. So, Clint, you're going to get the point here. The reason is FaZe hasn't won a winner's round 1. Now, do I want to believe
that's such a bad stat?
I know, but it's true. It's happened all year, and it's been the same thing over and over again. They come out slow and sloppy on Friday. Why? I'm not too sure, but it has happened. And if there is a team, again, if there is a team for OpTic they probably didn't want to face, it probably is FaZe because they have such confidence after Stage 1 playoffs. But I think OpTic Gaming, I think this is where they show their true colors. OpTic are going to take this winners round 1. Now for our last segment, the last chance to score some points. Right now, Ben is up by 1 point, but it's time for the grand finals. We talked matchups. You guys made your picks for the first round, but that leaves the big question. Which of these squads is winning Stage 2? Clint, let's start with you.
Well, I'm going OpTic Gaming.
Shocker, Clint. Shocker.
Whoa, hey, hold up. Rise was my favorite even a week ago. They were still my favorite to take it, and I still think Rise can, but I'm going OpTic Gaming. I just think they've showed they're hitting that true form. They've improved in Search and Destroy. They're the best hardpoint team in the game. I don't think they're going to struggle really that much with FaZe. The searches will be interesting. I think they can get through FaZe. They play the winner of TK UNILAD. They match up with UNILAD a lot. I've talked to the guys. They think they match up against them well and know how to beat them. I don't think they're really tested that hard until maybe a winner's bracket final against a Rise or a Red. I just think OpTic Gaming of the Juggernaut teams are currently in the best form. Now, I know we haven't seen Red for a couple weeks, but if you're talking right now in this moment of who we watch play, I think you could probably say best form. You have what? UNILAD, eUnited, OpTic Gaming are probably those teams. But
United was 6-1. Yeah.
Clint,
OpTic, I think OpTic though is the best team right now.
Real quick,
they're hot.
What was OpTic's last game of the league?
Last game of the league?
Yeah.
LG.
And what happened in that one?
Oh, are we pretending like anyone cared about that series, Ben?
Absolutely.
I think I saw Scump fall asleep on the stage during the series.
I mean, maybe he's going to fall asleep winners round 1 against FaZe and not even make it.
Yeah, Ben, that's a good argument. That's some of the dumbest nonsense I've ever heard.
I understand why you're saying OpTic Gaming. I get it. And I understand, statistically speaking, they're a great team and the stars are aligning. Let's not forget, they've not won a major tournament all year long, right? There is that. So I think
there's magic. This is the first one, Benjamin Button.
To my point, though, I think that's going to give them extra hunger going into the final two, which happen to be two of the biggest, one of the biggest. However, stats, they don't mean anything.
Oh, gosh, what is he doing?
They don't mean anything,
They mean a lot.
If FaZe Clan can come out and take stage 1 against all odds, I think the storyline, the plot thickens come stage 2. Clint?
Ben uses his gut and heart more than I do.
That's not true, because I'm normally right and you're normally wrong. eUnited are going to win stage 2 playoffs. I think it's very easy to say Red Rise, but that winners round 1 matchup.
I thought you were going FaZe.
No, I'm not going FaZe.
I'll tell you what, if eUnited do win, I believe that Pac-Man's out $1,000.
Yes, he is.
So that would make me laugh if eUnited were able to do it.
But here's the argument. And I think this is a very compelling argument.
I'm listening.
And to me, I really think the stars have aligned. I say that a lot, but with this squad, I really feel like now is the time. Every series they played, they took 2 maps. All of them. Their search and destroy has improved now so much. There's the old saying in Call of Duty Esports, search and destroy wins championships. I feel like it's very true with this eUnited squad.
True this year.
They're taking game 5s all the time, consistently pushing themselves to that game 5. Whether they're down 2-0, they'll suddenly win 2 maps in a row. Admittedly, don't get me wrong, they've been up 2-0 as well, and all of a sudden the reverse sweep has started.
Ben.
They're so consistent at this point. At this point, at pushing series, extending series when they need to, pulling something out of a hat, which, quite frankly, they shouldn't do, that for me, I think they're going to be able to do it.
Ben, and I don't think it's that crazy because I said earlier in the show that this is the first time that I feel that I have faith in eUnited to win a tournament. I said earlier, I've always had the faith in them to upset people, but I did not think I had faith in them to win a tournament. It's possible. But you realize that OpTic Gaming basically just 5-0'd them. If it weren't for that spawn on Gibraltar and then Pristini soaking 4 artillery shells to the face during a ninja, like OpTic literally 5-0'd them.
That's great.
OpTic is still in a form above what eUnited are in my eyes.
Here's the thing.
OpTic has a better chance of winning than eUnited.
I think OpTic Gaming comes from the losers bracket. That's my personal opinion here.
I think they stroll into the final.
They're both on the other side.
I think they stroll into the final.
I completely disagree. Let's not forget. If OpTic Gaming do beat FaZe, which they've struggled to do so, and that's a historical fact, then they have to play UNILAD. Oh, look what happened in the league. OpTic Gaming, they came out and destroyed UNILAD. Don't care. Look what happened in Anaheim. Game 5.
They just beat the hell out of UNILAD.
Those two teams are incredibly close.
They just smoked UNILAD.
OpTic Gaming do not have an easy run.
Man, what was the score of the map 1 versus UNILAD?
It doesn't matter.
It's 250 to 60.
Great. UNILAD were asleep. They were asleep. I've never seen less energy. When they finally woke up, what happened? The games got closer. One thing is for sure. OpTic Gaming do not have an easy run. The fact that you think they do is a
Oh, no, I'm not saying they have an easy run. The teams are very good.
No,
I think OpTic are going to make it look easy.
You said they had an easy run.
No, I think OpTic are going to make it look easy. I think they're going to get there comfortably. I do. I think they're going to get there comfortably.
Clint, they're playing FaZe, who took 2 series in a grand final against them. Then they're playing UNILAD, who at the last
or TK.
Well, or TK. And that's another thing.
Last time I picked OpTic,
TK, 100% they want to take down the green wall. They are very hungry players for that.
I think I only picked OpTic to win one event. It was Seattle, and that's when their team died and fell apart, and they got like top 16.
So then, by that history,
they're still winning it. They're winning stage 2 playoffs, Ben.
I think you could have gone red.
It's a maybe guarantee.
I think you could have gone red. I think you could have gone Rise, all with a much higher percentile chance of winning.
That's tough because they face up and winners round 1.
Anyone can win this. Ben,
whoever you think is going to win the matchup, I think you can win.
Anyone can win. You can make an argument for anyone, but OpTic's winning.
Make an argument for Echo Fox.
Well, you got you there.
I'll wait.
They were pretty hot in their final 2 weeks. But do I think Echo Fox is winning? No.
I would love at this point for a montage reel to play of Maven's Echo Fox rants. They're the best. They're going to win an event. They're terrible.
It's not about that.
They're
you guys picked your teams.
To be fair, that is very accurate on my feelings for Echo Fox. But
I know.
I'm going OpTic Gaming, Ben.
And I'm going to United.
I'm taking Crim6. You're taking Clayster.
I'm taking Clay.
Wouldn't that be a fun final?
Oh, that'd be amazing, by the way.
This is a tough one. You guys have put me in a predicament because I think you picked two of the hottest teams in the world right now. However, there is one thing that really, I don't know, it's so hard for me to trust, and that is eUnited. And the reason is they have shown such good form throughout the year, and then they have fallen off. We're thinking Anaheim, this is going to be it. They get top 12. They look so much better. They survive a tough group. And they don't place well. They get top 6, they come to the league. They almost don't make Stage 1 playoffs. They finally do. You're thinking, in the Stage 1 playoffs, this is it. This is the eUnited. They survived Stage 1 playoffs. They don't do too well.
Agree.
The entire year it has been tough. For OpTic, you have some better showings throughout the year. They haven't won either. But I think when you look at current forms, OpTic does have the edge over eUnited. I think eUnited is going to have a very tough matchup against not only the first round, but also the winner of, Red Reserve and Rise. The toughest part for OpTic, I think, will be the first match. I think if they get through the first match, OpTic Gaming will be our Stage 2 winners. So I'm going to give 2 points to Clint.
Oh, let's get it!
He's going to win this episode.
Come on. Easy answer. Sorry,
what's up, Ben?
What's up, Ben? It's not an easy answer. All the answers
I
are
almost
so
said
tough.
Rise. I almost still went with Rise.
I mean, it's so tough right now, but you have to look at sort of, I think, the hottest team, and I think it is OpTic. Maybe it is because recency bias where we've just seen them. But again, Red, they struggled a little bit. Echo Fox, they were probably the hottest team in Division A besides Red Reserve, and we still don't have that trust in them. And then for eUnited, yes, it was a 6-1, but can you really trust those guys to win it all? And I just can't. It's been a very long time since they have. All right, fellas, it's time. Strap on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets, and since Maven, you won, you had to put on the special edition Rating Shots A40 TR headset. You lost last week to Chan, so you're back in that Smack Talk winner's circle presented by Astro Gaming. Maven, let's hear it.
Clint, before you start, try not to piss off any of the mums out there. I know they've been at you on social media.
He definitely already has.
Oh, am I about to go at moms? No, I'm just kidding. They just love their kids. They love their kids. They like to get my mentions when I talk about them playing bad, but I understand it. Okay. I win at EG, so I got to go at LG. What in the hell? I pick you guys. I pick you guys to get top 4. I picked FaZe last time. They did it for me. I high-fived them all. Made me look smart. I pick LG. You guys come out. You have to beat UNILAD. You get to a Game 5, you have another horrendous 2v1 against them. You lose in 2 Game 5s where JCap makes a bonehead play, your team falls apart. It was awful to watch. Then you come out against Complexity and must win. You get 3-0'd. You guys look so flat and so bad. JCap, you nailed it in your tweet. It was embarrassing. This is the first time for most of the players that they have not been in a Pro League playoff.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's insane to think about. But it's just pathetic. I don't know who needs to come up with the energy or the leadership, but it shouldn't happen. And yes, I know you go in a hole in the first 2 weeks, so it's tough to dig yourself out, but still, it's just, I just hated like the demeanor of everyone and the effort from everyone, the play from everyone, the comms. Like, I just couldn't stand it. It just didn't seem like you guys were here to win, and now you're not going to be a playoff. So you can hang out with EG, you guys can order pizza, watch the matches, and sob together.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, it was very tough for Luminosity because they put themselves in a hole. Now, it was cocky. It was straight up cocky to come in to the first 2 weeks and say, this is where our search and destroy practice is going to be. It's going to be right here. Guess what? They go 3-4. You go to Anaheim, you get top 4. Things are looking up, and then that first match against UNILAD, you lose. And then this week, you had to beat Complexity to give yourselves a chance. What happened? They lose. I just don't understand what this Luminosity team was doing. It makes no sense to me.
They got smoked by Doug.
It was embarrassing for all 4 of those players.
Even Joe's going in.
I am. I have to keep going in because I just haven't seen anything like it from these 4 players. So hopefully we see a different Luminosity at our stage, or not our stage, at our CWL Championships. It was a great episode, but shots were traded and CWL was debated. We'll see you guys next week.